just in case nobody said it to you yet, hello and welcome. Have a good day. I hope you've had a good day here at the Hannover Messe here with Siemens. Now, my name is Chris, and I'm going to take you through this next panel. And this is a very, very special panel. We already started it off differently than we did the others. And that is because we're going to be talking about a relatively new vertical when it comes to Siemens, and that is that of the semiconductors. And we're going to be talking about collaborating to accelerate net zero in the realm of semiconductors. And as we all know, chip production is the backbone of modern technology, but is also highly resource and energy intensive. And as the industry pushes boundaries when it comes to physics and engineering, while meeting surging demand, the environmental impact expands further also. So the question is, how can we create a greener future? The answer? Collaboration. Collaboration on semiconductor innovation and technology. And I'm very, very happy to have these esteemed experts now with us, with me, to help us out. So I'd like to welcome them and introduce them, starting off with this lovely lady here right next to me, Katharina Westrich. And before she was the global head of vertical semiconductor at Siemens, she was the head of Siemens Research and Pre-Development Department and a member of the governing council of the Semiconductor Climate Consortium. First off, welcome, Katharina. Tell us a bit about what this actually means in lay terms. What do you do on a daily basis?
So I'm actually in the exciting field of semiconductor right now and driving our portfolio in the direction that it's the best fit for the semiconductor industry and collaborating with our partners to bring the industry to the next level.
Katharina, great to have you. And as we do it here in Siemens, we'd like to welcome them with a round of applause. Katharina, hello. Nice to have you. All right. Next up, we have Frank with us. Frank Truong is the Chief of Staff for Operations at Intel's multi-billion-dollar global supply chain. And he's also a recognized innovator with over a dozen patents in substrate packaging, materials, and also process technology. Where do you find the time to do that, Frank?
It takes a lot of energy, and so I get it from exercise and caffeine.
All right.
That's the way to stay awake.
We're very happy to have you with us. And once again, welcome, Frank. It's just so much more fun when we applaud. All right. And next, and last but not least in our round, is Mousumi Bhat. Mousumi is a semiconductor industry veteran who has held senior positions at Micron, Global Foundries, Motorola, and Texas Instruments. And she is currently the Vice President of Sustainability Programs at SEMI. Mousumi, great to have you. What is SEMI? Just in a few short sentences. What do you do?
Well, Chris, I'm glad you said SEMI instead of semi.
Yeah.
SEMI is a industry association. It's one of the largest semiconductor industry association with greater than something like 3,000 member companies. We're global, and we cover the whole value chain.
And we're very, very happy to have you with us. This is your applause. Mousumi.
Thank you.
All right. Now we got that. Okay. But now let's get into the actual topic here. Maybe you can give us a brief introduction of the industry. Katharina, why don't you start it off?
Sure. So, as we heard already, semiconductors are the backbone of modern technology. So you find them in actually every electrical device you use, be it your smartphone or also your coffee machine, for example, if it's already intelligent. So I think these are the things which we are using every day. And I think especially throughout the pandemic, the chip industry got somehow famous because there were production lines standing still because of these tiny little things which were actually missing. And I think now more and more people understand how important semiconductors are in our daily life. And that's why we need to make sure that we have a resilient and sustainable industry in this regard. If we take a hybrid car, for example, we have right now 3,500 chips in a hybrid car. And so I think this is impressive, and this is going forward like this. We have 1 trillion of chips produced every year. And I think this industry is a lot about talking trillion. You will kind of notice that throughout the talk we are having, because we are also in 2030 predicting a market of semiconductors of $1 trillion US dollars. So I think that's impressive, and that's a big opportunity also to participate in that. And we see obviously also governments highly investing in the industries, also to kind of getting independent to a certain extent, and kind of, due to the geopolitics we face, bringing that to the next level.
Yeah, I can imagine. Speaking of participation, I know you prepared something.
Yeah, I prepared something in order to test a bit the expertise in our audience here. So if we look to the smallest structure on a chip, do you know what we talk about? Is it A, basically the size of a bacterium in micrometer? Are we talking size of a virus, which is nanometer, which would be B? Or is it C, femtometer, kind of the size of a proton? So
all right.
Any idea?
Who's for A? Just raise your hand. Who's for A? Nobody. B? All right, we got a few hands. And C? Carsten, what do you say? A, B, C? A, B, C? Carsten Häuser? He says C. So what is it?
I say B. We are not there yet on the C level, but we are aiming for it. But we talk nanometers right now.
Okay, just to give you, once again, a rough idea. Okay, so thank you very much, first of all, Katharina, for highlighting this. Now let's dive into the specifics. And the first question to you, Frank, what do you think are the main challenges the semiconductor industry faces? And maybe you could also collaborate on the innovative technologies addressing these challenges.
Yeah, great question, Chris. And I think Katharina just mentioned this industry is going to grow to $1 trillion by the end of the decade. That means AI, autonomous vehicles, different applications of our digital lives are going to transform how many chips that need to be produced. And we're hearing from customers all over the world. They want a resilient and sustainable supply of these chips. But with a globally connected supply chain, it comes at a lot of risk. You have geopolitics, you have regulation, scarcity of resources, and of course, natural disasters and things caused by climate change. So I think it's key for, Siemens, Intel, other companies in the semiconductor ecosystem to collaborate very deeply to help address these risks, because many of these are too hard for one company to solve alone. It's just not economically feasible for one company to share that burden. And I think where we're looking at with Siemens and Intel is how do we leverage our combined expertise across our vast portfolio of solutions, whether it's electrical equipment, whether it's digital twins and AI, or looking at solutions to monitor product carbon footprint together and help drive some new transformations on the sustainability front.
Interesting. But we also have another perspective we'd like to bring into play here, and that is from within the SEMI Association. Maybe you could elaborate on the challenges that SEMI is addressing and how SEMI also fosters innovating for solving them.
Sure, Chris. Like I mentioned earlier, SEMI is global and we span the value chain. And I'm really excited to be here speaking together with Katharina and Frank, because one of the things that is important in the space of innovation is partnerships, right? So at SEMI, we have 3 key tenets. Basically, it's connect, collaborate, and innovate. So innovation is a key ingredient. And what we provide at SEMI is a platform where we bring in thought leadership, change makers, and experts all in the same space to be able to innovate. Now, as I was walking in this morning, there was a big sign outside. I'm not sure you guys saw it, but it's from Bechtel. Anyone from Bechtel? And it said, engineers must save the world. And, engineers are probably the smartest and the brightest folks that you have in our industry. And I look forward to those engineers to save all the issues around global warming. One of the ways we specifically do that within SEMI is we have a working group called S3, Startups for Sustainable Semiconductors. And we give them a platform to bring their innovation in, and hence creating an inclusive space for them to grow. And finally, what I want to say is, and all your companies are part of it, this year's S3 is being hosted by Intel Capital. And in a couple of months, when we have Semicon West in San Francisco, we have the final pitch event of the innovators. So that's kind of how we specifically move the whole agenda of innovation in this space.
Yeah. Thank you very much for sharing that, Mousumi. Next up, Katharina, I'd like to bring in another perspective, since Siemens is also deeply engaged in all or across the entire value chain of the semiconductor industry, covering everything from design, production, but obviously also everything else involved in the supply chain. So where do you see the potential impact of such a key player?
Yeah, maybe also to give first a few stats also for the audience. We talk about 1 trillion liter of waters being used in a year by the semiconductor
How
industry.
much?
1 trillion.
Okay.
So I told you, we talk about trillions here.
Yeah.
And so this is comparable, basically, of a whole water usage or consumption for Mexico City. So this is huge. And I think in this regard, we need to search for solution, how we can actually reduce water consumption. Mm-hmm. Only 20% or about 20% is recycled right now. So also there we have the potential to optimize further. And I think these are the things where we can also contribute as Siemens. As I said before, you were also saying it, we contribute across the whole value chain. That means we collaborate with SEMI, for example, associations to make a difference, also with the SEMI Climate Consortium. But we also collaborate with leading research institutes like IMEC, Fraunhofer, or LETI, for example. And then besides that, we are not only working kind of 360-degree with Intel, for example, really chip to chip, where we actually design the chips, use Intel's chips also in our production, for example, in our new Ecotech IPC, but then also supporting Intel on the sustainability journey, digital twin journey throughout the production side. So it's really a 360-degree relationship what we have with the industry and the production of chips, but then also our automation and software solution go into the equipment providers. So we are really doing across the whole value chain business with the semiconductor industry, and also what you said before, our electrical products, the electrical equipment in the fabs is also provided by us. And I think that really makes the difference. And we also buy about 6 billion electronic components. So we really very much rely on the semiconductor industry and the resilient supply, basically, making sure that we can actually get our products to the next level. And our Scope 3 emission is basically the Scope 1 and 2 emissions of the semiconductor industry. So we have a real interest in order to reduce our carbon emission to make a bit difference and also support the semiconductor industry on their journey.
Now, obviously, you deal with this on a daily basis, but are you still sometimes overwhelmed by the sheer size of these numbers I'm hearing? Billions, trillions?
Billions and trillions.
Yeah.
Yes.
Isn't that? I'm just like, wow, it's just amazing. But again,
it's a huge opportunity.
Huh?
I think I look at it as a huge opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
These big numbers that give us the chance to drive meaningful change.
Right, and to see how relevant this actually is. Now, Frank, you also emphasized the importance of collaboration, and this brings me to one of the events I think Intel hosted together with Cisco also this year, and also Siemens, Intel Sustainability Summit. Right? Maybe you can tell us a bit about this summit, and what was your personal highlight, your personal experience?
Oh, yeah. You know, I think the Intel Sustainability Summit, we hosted it last March in Santa Clara. And what I think we're seeing in the industry right now is there's a lot of companies putting out net zero goals, whether it's 2030, 2040, 2050, so on and so forth. But a lot of it is talk right now. We need to drive action together. And I think bringing leaders, 400 some odd thought leaders, sustainability champions, experts in the field together, and having that dialogue in person to figure out where can we drive the most leverage to enable better product carbon footprints, as well as finding sustainable alternatives to some of the chemistries that we're using today in our industry. And I think just a few stats that I recall from the event, Chris, you know, we had over 120 companies either currently joined or committed to join a consortia like SEMI, and that helps to bring our pooled resources together to drive more change. 99% of our suppliers have committed to reporting on greenhouse gases. That helps enable dramatic change on Scope 1, Scope 2, and Scope 3. And 100 companies have committed to developing a net zero roadmap within the next year, by 2025. And so all of these things come together and then also give us the alternative to PFAS, right? How do we get sustainable alternatives? And that's driven through a research roadmap, which is aligned at this last Sustainability Summit. You know, you mentioned chip-to-chip, Katharina, and I think this is one of the great things that we have as an industry. You know, it's being able to leverage a virtuous cycle, taking semiconductor manufacturing to create chips, and those chips power new AI innovations and solutions that help optimize the semiconductor manufacturing process. It's a win-win that helps us to become more of a green and sustainable ecosystem.
Positive feedback cycle in a way.
Exactly, yeah, Chris.
Yeah. So you were also able to attend, right? Together with Cedric Naika, I think.
Yeah, I had the honor to attend.
How was that?
It was impressive because I think the companies who were there were representing about 7 million people and about 3 trillion, actually, again, annual revenue. So this is also a big power what we have in this industry because there are the big ones also behind, and there you can really make the difference, I think. And if we get really this collaboration going, not only talking about the challenges, also really about applying solutions. I mean, we don't have the solution for everything right now. Also pretty clear, for example, PFAS, they are so uniquely in their properties in terms of stability that you cannot easily just replace them. In certain processes, yes, in others maybe not yet. So I think there we need to jointly work on finding solutions. And that's not a process of a few weeks. That's probably decades of research, which we still need. Might be that there are technologies going forward which accelerate, but there's still challenges out there. And I think it can only be solved if we collaborate with the intelligence of all of us and the expertise of all of us, bringing that together and accelerating it.
And obviously using the influence such names have in the game to once again make an impact and a difference. Mousumi, maybe you can tell us a bit about the power of collaboration so far in the semiconductor industry and beyond. Maybe you can share a concrete example.
Sure, I will do that. You know, Frank just talked about companies having pledges in 2030, 2040, 2050. That's 2 decades. From my perspective, where I sit, I would like, we have to bridge this. I mean, there's no one single winner when it comes to sustainability. We have to win together as a team. So how do you bridge that? You bridge that through collaboration. And that's why it's wonderful being, as part of members of SCC, we get to sit there and figure out how we bridge that gap. I want to talk about 2 key challenges. There's really 2 big ones in this space of sustainability for our value chain. And we published this last year in a paper that we did together with a Boston Consulting Group. And those 2 challenges, it may be obvious. The first one's energy related, basically having clean source of clean electrons going into our systems. And then the second one is what's unique to our industry is high global warming potential process gases. We use a few exotic gases. Our problem's not so much carbon dioxide, but more the exotic gases we use, PFCs and HFCs. On the first one, we launched at COP28, we launched the Energy Collaborative, which, if you think about it, we are semiconductor engineers. We don't do much energy, right? So how do we solve our biggest footprint, 82% of our emissions? We can solve that only through collaboration. So with the Energy Collaborative, we're reaching outside our ecosystem and, teaming up with experts such as Siemens and others, government officials, bringing them all together to find solutions. On the process gases, we are a high-precision industry. We can't just switch gases whenever we want to. And that requires collaboration, innovation. And what SEMI does is provides a platform to be able to expedite those innovations. So that's all through collaboration. So those are the 2 big ones I see, Chris.
Interesting. In closing, looking at the time, we've got to make it quick, but one final question for the entire panel. What technologies, what emerging technologies and innovations are you most excited about when you take a look into the future? If you picture you had a glass ball, what are you most excited about? Let's start it off. Rapid fire way. 20 seconds.
Quantum computing, I would say, because then we can actually reduce the amount of time we need to find a substitute for PFAS applications.
Quantum, okay.
nuclear fusion. I think we've got to look at bold, disruptive, green energy solutions that can help augment the systems we have in now, like solar and wind, if we want to be able to keep up with the demand for AI and data centers in the future.
Thank you, Frank.
Well, I'll continue on energy. You stole nuclear from me. So I'm going to focus on something that is more short-term, which is battery. I see a lot of stuff out there on batteries and long-term storage. We need to solve this energy problem. But more importantly, Chris, I think what I want to emphasize is we need collaboration. This is not something that one individual or one company or one country can solve on its own. Sustainability or solving these tough problems, which is less than a decade away, is a team sport. So collaboration, collaboration, collaboration.
Yeah. And I couldn't think of a better way to end it. What a nice closing statement. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big round of applause to our panelists here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.